Why hello there thrill seekers and welcome back to the channel. Alright, so I just got back from a trip to Cedar Point. Yeah, I know that you might be wondering why was I at Cedar Point in the middle of the winter. Well, the park has this tour called the Winter Chillout, and it provides backstage access to the ride maintenance shops, park services buildings, prop buildings, and nearly full access to the park to see it in the winter time. This tour was absolutely amazing, and today we'll be going over everything that happened during the tour, specifically the highlights of the tour, everything that they announced coming to the park, and some points I found out when talking to some of the staff. So the day began with leaving our hotel to the park at around maybe 7:30 in the morning, as our tour started at around 8. There were about 1,200 guests coming to this tour in about 4 different groups of around 300 guests each, all starting their tour at different times. We were the first group to start our tour. As we entered the park, we were handed a park map showing tour locations and a toque with the Cedar Point logo on it. We entered the park, and the first stop we went to was about shows and stage design. Unfortunately, I didn't exactly get many notes down for this location, but they are bringing a beach show from Knott's Bay Farm to this one theater, and on the front row they're building a sand pit for those who would like to sit in the sand pit to watch the show from. Anyways, let's get to some of the details that would really draw your interest. So wandering around the park with nearly nobody around in the middle of the winter, where all the rides have been slightly dismantled for yearly maintenance. The first ride I came across to really see this in action was the Matterhorn. All of the cars were taken off the ride structure and have been placed down to the side of this ride. Further down the path, we can see top-load dragster cars sitting on the path right beside the station of the ride. It was an interesting experience to actually be up close to these cars off the track and really have a look at the mechanisms, such as like the wheel assembly, up close. We can also see a piece of track taken off of Iron Dragon, but something a bit more significant is the Tilt-a-whirl parts laid out across the path outside of Camp Snoopy. More on this when we talk about the major presentation about what's going on around the park. So we finally made it to the back of the park for the props building portion of the tour. By the way, I forgot to mention that this was a self-guided tour around the park. They had ride signs put up, ride models, haunt props, and so much more just laying around for display. This was honestly one of my favorite parts of the day, just viewing this building and seeing all like the props just laid out. Some of the models that they had laying around were a pirate ship ride, they had the Raptor station building, they also had a blue streak sign, some of the haunt props were in the back, like the skeletons. They also had a wall that showed pictures and like logos of certain rides that were built during a certain, I think it was 4, maybe 5 years or so. And yeah, like basically this whole building was just a whole bunch of just signs and props and models. So this prop building that we were just in, it's the only tour location that's in the back of the park. All the other tour locations were near the front. So we started making our way back to the front of the park. And we decided to take the other side of the park. So on the way up, we were taking the side of the park that you would be entering Top the Dragster on, and the same side that would have Gemini. This time we're taking the side that has Millennium Force. And on our way back, we came across a Frozen Maverick. One water ride opposite of Maverick was completely drained out, as it should be. As we went further down the path, there was a closed Cinnabon. Even further down, we saw the Millennium Force trains sitting on the path. And these Millennium Force trains, we were able to get right up close to them. I took some shots underneath the trains to get like a shot of the mechanisms. We were able to view right up close to the wheel assembly. In fact, we actually at one point even grabbed the wheel and spun it. There were stickers on the wheel saying like best to use if after a specific date. So yeah, it was really interesting getting right up close to these Millennium Force trains without it being on the track and having, you know, like quickly get in the train and now just sitting in the train, not actually seeing the mechanisms, but now actually being up close to the train to see the mechanisms right underneath and everything. But anyways, after seeing the Millennium Force trains, it was now time for the big presentation. The presentation where they're going to announce a ton. Okay, so we went to the building that's right beside Max Air and Windseeker. Now, I could not get any footage of this presentation. Okay, so there's going to be footage of things maybe related, if not just random visuals. Okay, because there was no photography allowed during this presentation. Okay, because everything that they were showing us was things that were not yet publicly announced. Before they announced anything, they did a quick raffle. Okay, there were 2 raffles actually. One was of a major prize, which was this big banner. It was massive. But the thing was that if you won it, you had to carry it around all day. And in fact, the park staff, the managers, were all laughing about the idea of having, this guy who won it now has to carry it around all day. By the way, good luck tying it up. But the other prizes were small things like pieces of Mean Streak, or perhaps backpacks, or this poster that you can have framed. You get the idea. Just these small little pieces of items and stuff. But the point is, you don't want to hear about that. You want to know what was announced during this presentation. So the first thing they talked about was Forbidden Frontiers for 2019. Okay, this is the new attraction that they're building this year. Okay, for those who don't know yet, Forbidden Frontiers is not a ride, it's not a coaster, it's nothing like that. What it is basically very similar to Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland. Okay, if you don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up so you can better understand what this new attraction is. Okay, so Forbidden Frontiers is going to be this island in the middle of Cedar Point. So an island on an island. So anyways, so you go onto this island, and the way you get onto this island is either taking a boat ride across the lagoon, or you can just cross the bridge. When you're on the island, you are now first greeted by an area called Snake River Swamp. Okay? Snake River Swamp is going to be this little land on the island where it's basically just this big swamp, probably going to feature snakes. Hence the name, maybe. I don't know. And there's going to be multiple different ways you can get through this swamp. The first way that they talked about was this little barrel bridge. Now, I didn't really actually mention barrel bridge, I just mentioned a bridge, but they have sketches on the screen, and these sketches are the final sketches. Okay, everything that's in this sketch is going to be included in the actual attraction. Okay, these aren't design sketches of what could be there. These are sketches that are actually going to be in this attraction, for sure, 100%. And we could see that there's a barrel bridge, very similar to Tom Sawyer Island again. Okay, for those who don't know, it's basically these barrels that are roped together to form a bridge, and you got a rope handlebars on the side, and you just basically just walk across barrels over water. Okay, and so you got that in the middle of Snake River Swamp. You can take a trail to the right, okay, and kind of go through a few interactable items, or you can take the left and just walk around it. Now, I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure that I saw some kind of rope attraction to go across the water. I don't know what it was. It was very ski lift like, but I can't remember what it was. It was these 2 lines going across the water in the sketch, and I could see something kind of swinging across these lines. Now, they did mention there are going to be attractions in this area, but I don't know if they mean full-on flat rides, or if they mean kind of small things. I'm pretty sure it's small things. So after you get past Snake River Swamp, you're now greeted by this shack. Now, I can't remember what they called this area, okay? But this is where the forbidden part of Forbidden Frontiers comes into play. This area is kind of going to be a section where dinosaurs used to be. Now, I can't remember if they actually said where dinosaurs used to be, or where dinosaurs are currently, okay? But they did mention dinosaurs, okay? So there's going to be some sort of dinosaur-like area right after Snake River Swamp, and there's going to be a shack where you can interact with a character. They're going to bring in a new character, and this character has been stranded on this island for quite a few years now. I don't know how many years he said, but a lot. And there's going to be more like interactable activities here. And the way they described this new attraction was that all the other rides at Cedar Point, the ride controls you. And this attraction here, you control the ride. That's like kind of like the way they described it. Okay, so once again, very similar to Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland. And once again, if you don't know what Tom Sawyer Island is and you still don't understand what this new attraction is, look up Tom Sawyer Island, get the idea. Okay. Anyways, after they talked about Forbidden Frontiers a bit, they then went on to talk about new restaurants coming to the park. So, before the presentation, I did notice that there were 2 buildings in the park that were under construction. Either under construction, like being built, or just getting renovated. There's 2 new restaurants coming to the park. One is called Hugo's Italian Kitchen. This is going to be located near the front of the park, kind of like right beside one of the stations for the ski lift. It's going to be like basically on the same side as Raptor though, okay? Right on that like front entrance strip. And then after that, they announced Backbeat Q, okay? Backbeat Q is right where Witch's Wheel used to be, right beside Gemini, okay? And it's going to be this restaurant that's really heavy on music, okay? It's going to be a barbecue restaurant, okay? So they're going to have like smokers and everything in here, but there's no seating inside, okay? So unlike Hugo's Kitchen where there's seating inside the building, okay? And by the way, it's not like table service where you sit at the table and you order food from there. You actually have to go up in a line, order your food, grab your food, and go back to a table, okay? So Backbeat Q is the same thing. You order food, and then you grab it, and then you head outside to the table, okay? There's only outdoor seating at Backbeat Q. And when you're outside, they're going to have a live band, okay? Because once again, this restaurant is very music heavy. Let's talk about some rides. These are some ride updates that are coming to Cedar Point. So on Steel Vengeance, they're removing the handlebars. The handlebars that are at your side to hold on to, those are getting removed. And the reason for it is because in the middle, where the 2 handlebars kind of like meet in a way, like for the 2 guests, like sitting side by side, they're a bit too close to each other, and it made it uncomfortable for riders where it feels like your hands like rubbing up. Actually, no, it was rubbing up to the person beside you. So, because of that, they're getting rid of it. And they did say that even though they're getting rid of it, they feel like it's going to provide a better ride experience because of the amount of airtime the coaster has. Alright, so, cell phones. You can now bring them back into the ride queue again. I don't know why I'm clapping. I shouldn't be clapping into the mic like that. So, why can you bring them back into the ride queue again? Because they're adding pouches. Yes, pouches are now being added to the back of the seat right in front of you, so that way you can put your personal belongings inside of the pouch to keep it safe, okay? So, make sure that your cell phone does go into the pouch and that the pouch is secure. Because please, don't be that guy who ruins it for everyone again. Okay? So, after the presentation, I did go up to the ride manager to talk about why they went with pouches and what kind of system they're going to use on the pouch. So when I approached them, she did say that they're aiming for a zipper system. So instead of Velcro or something, it's going to be zipper. And other systems in general were considered, such as storage bins on the platform. But since they want to keep capacity high, the best solution they found were pouches. Because it takes forever for a train to dispatch when you have bins. Okay? Because you have to go across the platform, place your item in the bin, come back, stumble, try and get into your seats. It just adds a lot more time to a dispatch. So what they decided to do was add the pouches so that all you have to do is sit down, put your item in the pouch, zip it up, and you're out of the station. Now, after we talked about why the pouches and what kind of system on the pouches, like the zipper system, I then proceeded to ask if the system will be brought over to other rides in the park or even other parks in the Cedar Fair chain. if the system works. Now, she did say it is a possibility, but it won't be happening at this current time. Now, let's move on to the next ride, the Tilt-a-whirl. If you remember from earlier, I mentioned something significant was happening to the Tilt-a-whirl. Before you panic, it's not getting removed. All that's happening is that it's getting a retheme. So, this retheme is no longer going to be blue. It's now going to be in patterns. Okay, it's going to have a pattern-like theme, and it's going to be now called Linus's Beetlebugs. Now, this retheme is to match the theme of its surrounding area. Near the end of the presentation, a man in a crowd asked about dark rides at one point, and the ride manager did mention she's wanting to have one built for a while now, but it's mainly about capacity, which is why it hasn't been done. Okay, because Cedar Point is one of the most visited parks because of how big it is and how it's like a resort, and they just haven't figured out a way for capacity for some reason for a dark ride. I found that weird because if you look at Disney, they have Omni-movers on their dark rides, which is basically a system where it's continuously moving. I don't know if that was just an answer just to try to get the question out of the way, or if that was them actually being serious when they don't know. I really can't elaborate on this very well because they didn't go into detail about it. But I just thought like I should mention this because I would love to see a dark ride go to Cedar Point, because the last dark ride they had that I can remember was Disaster Transport, and it was basically a bobsled coaster, and it got removed for Gatekeeper. Anyways, that's it for this part of the video. I'm going to have a second part up that will go into more detail about what happened after the presentation, so more of the tour itself, and actually some of the facts that I've learned about the park in terms of some of the stripped down cars and stuff. You'll see what I mean when you see the next part. Just click that button. Just right there. Just click. There you go. You didn't click it? What is wrong with you?